Okay, Wednesday, 3rd of July, 2024. So, 3 ways to predict the future. Not predict the future as in crystal ball and know exactly who's going to win the World Cup or who will win how many gold medals at the Olympics, but as in understanding the general trend of the future and mankind and where we're heading in life and in overall as a civilization or a society, a community and country and continent. So, one of the 3 ways is on a rolling 15-year basis and on a rolling 30-year basis, things are generally the same and different. There's a great quote which says, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So on a 15-year basis, things are generally different. Not so bad, it's not too similar, but different enough. Still humans, still need to eat, but technology is different, it's cheaper, much faster, better, and all the rest. You look at 2024 versus 2009 in terms of social media, in terms of technology, in terms of general life, it's not too different. Computers and phones and all the rest are a lot cheaper. Internet is much better and all the rest. Cars are not that much different either, but yeah, generally the same. 4 doors, 4 wheels, still the same kind of fuel and all the rest. Fundamentally the same, just the technicalities are different. Oh, there's more features, more functionality. We don't use rechargeable batteries, we use USB. Now you can get all sorts of things. You can get many more products on Amazon. You can sell many more things on Amazon. You can do so many more things online, but it's generally noticeably different. Yeah, I remember a lot the SD drives and the chips, storage chips back then. 50 or so pounds, 100 or so pounds for a small one, a few gigabyte, a terabyte, impossible, no way of getting it. Now you can get a few hundred gigabytes for not very much. You could get, I don't know the going rate, but now they're a lot cheaper than they were back then. So generally same, not too different. But on a 30-year basis, night and day. It's like caveman age. So you look at today versus 1994, completely different. 1994, 1964, completely different. 64 to 34, completely different. So by that logic, looking past, looking at history, we can apply it into the future. Just invert it. Say, right, what is subtly, noticeably different than what could be different than today? Oh, this could be different, that, this and this. Then within reason, that might be the thing in 15 years from now. It's quite possible. And then you can say, well, what would mean a complete different change 30 years from now? What would be a complete different world? Just sorting out the battery, it's too far. Okay, never mind. What would be a complete different world 30 years from now? What would be a complete night and day? Wow, you name it. This is completely different. That will be completely different. This will be completely different. Cars that still have 4 wheels, but this will be different. That'll be different. This. You name it. Whatever is unusual or different or unexpected today will be the thing. Because then we can expand it. And the second way is that saying, when people say to me, had you told me this X, or in 2009, I would have laughed. Had you told me this 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. Had you told me this 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. Had you told me this 15 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. There we are then. So as a general rule of thumb, what do you not believe that someone told you, well, you heard or predicted, that you don't believe, then the chances are, within reason of course, that will be a thing in the future. A friend of mine made a comment about the UK in July 2022. And I guess over the next few months, that will be slowly coming true. It was that thing where I could imagine it, but I couldn't believe it. I could believe it, but I couldn't imagine. That's it. I agree with my friend, but I just can't imagine, like, how would it work? What would it be like? I don't know. I don't know. So I believe it, but I can't imagine it. So then that means that there's something out there, well, it's something that would happen in the future, 10, 15 years from now, that had you told me this today in 2024, I wouldn't believe it. Oh, interesting. So then what things could you not believe today that are not possible Or what things do you not think are possible today? That's outlandish, that's too weird, no way. What? Things you would laugh at today. Then you could arguably say, well, that might actually be the future then. Of course, within reason, there's countless nuances to the future. So many incentives and influences and motives over here and there and everywhere that pushes the future forward. But still, why is it we'll say about the past? Let's invert it about the future. Had you told me that in 2024, I wouldn't believe you. And then another thing is that in the future, the third one is we look at life and we say, how did we do X without Y? How did we achieve this without Y? How did we do research? How did we communicate without phones? How did we coordinate without apps? How did we do research without the internet? How did we learn things really quickly without chatgpt? How did people survive in 1994 without X? Or 2004 without Y? Or 2014 without Z? How is that possible? Then you could say, and this requires a little more creativity, you could say, this technology, that technology, how, if you know about the technologies, then you could say, how did people survive and earn money in 2024 without X? How did people live in 2024 without Y? How did people in the 1600s survive without electricity? For example, you could say. Now, we need that level of creativity to come up with that new thing. And I'm sure now think about it, there are countless ways to do that. Ask ChatGPT, look at future technologies, AI, nanotechnologies, you name it. Then you could say, how did people make movies, whatever, without drones? How did people write books without pens? Things like that. How did we survive in 2025 without this technology that will be common 10, 15 years, 30 years from now? How did people in 1994 coordinate without mobile phones? They had a landline, a phone that was fixed to the wall or to the desk, had a connection, a physical connection. How did they survive? How do they coordinate? So that, again, a little more creativity needed to figure out that new technology and think retroactively, how could you apply it into the past, i.e. today? So those are some 3 clever ways of looking at the future, predicting the future, because again, the more things change, the more they stay the same. All these things can change. Technology, electricity, all the material world can change all around us, but human nature fundamentally doesn't change. And that's worth understanding about the future, about nature, about mankind. Humans don't change. Though still in 30 years from now and 300 years from now, people will need to eat, people will need to sleep, people will want to earn money, you name it. People will need to learn. And those needs are going to be with us, and those needs will be facilitated in different ways. In ways right now we can't even imagine, we can't even enumerate. Words, and this is interesting as well, words of technologies that will be mainstream 15, 30 years from now, that will be a household name, means nothing today. I mean, the word is nothing. Think about it. If you say the word Facebook in 1950, 1980, 1990, it means nothing. It's just gibberish. Facebook, what does that mean? Or if I say ChatGPT to somebody in 2000 or 1990, that's just words. ChatGPT. Well, what's that mean? Where's that? What's that? Same idea. There are things out there that will be mainstream, but have yet to be conceived, yet to be dreamed, or yet to be imagined. I can remember 20 odd years ago in Americans would call it shop class, but we call it wood tech. In a lesson with the teacher, I remember his name, Mr. McLaughlin, he was telling me in the class about technology and the future technologies. Again, this is 2004, maybe 2005, 4-5-ish. And he said that the mobile phones of the future are being drawn up on drawing boards or imagined and created. And I was thinking, wow, that's how this phone here is. Again, I believed it, but I couldn't imagine it. Tell me more, how's that possible? And then also, I remember extremely vaguely in 2000 or maybe 2001, around that time, there was a newspaper article that said that mobile phones in the future would not have colour screens. well, that's a hell of a thing to say. But still, you laugh at that now, these kind of things. And that just shows that the world is changing. The world is changing in countless ways, and we need to figure out how to be ahead of the curve, how to predict the future. And these 3 ways are just some nice creative ways of looking and predicting the future. 15 and 30 years from now, had you told me, and how did we get X done without Y? Powerful stuff. Yeah. But otherwise, you will see me tomorrow.